Kakadosh, good morning. This week's Parashat, we find a Parashat which is actually very current or very related to the current events, which usually happens in many different places in the world. I actually heard that in Argentina, they used to have a minhag of reading Parashat Korach with the next Parashat also with it. They never wanted to read just Korach by itself. And the reason why is because there was a big fight, a big machloket, that there were communities fighting with each other, and we're talking about physical fighting. And because of that, they made a takana that they never read Korach by itself. Korach is machloket. And now, especially what's going on in the land of Israel, to do with with all the different parties and all the different things which are happening, we actually see this concept of machloket, of fighting, how terrible that it is and how much that it affects even young children. So in the part of the shiur, we're going to speak about why is it that even young children, which usually children are not punished whatsoever for the deeds or for things that happen with their parents, all of a sudden here they are punished. And the question is, why? Why is it that even the small young children were swallowed up alive and they all passed away as well? So in order to start, we first wanted just to find out, there's a beautiful Gemara in Masechet Menachot Kaftet Amud Bet. The Gemara in Menachot Kaftet Amud Bet says, Ele toledot hashamayim v'aretz bibaream. It quotes the pasuk in the Torah that this is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the shamayim and the aretz, the land, the heaven, and the earth. And there it says, Behi baream, when he created them, says the Gemara, you have to read the word be'ot hei beraam, which means he created this land with the letter he. He created olam haba with the letter yod, the world to come, and he created this world with the letter he. So, says the Gemara, why is the world created with the letter he? So he says, because it's like a patio. The letter he is open, right? So since it's open, whoever wants to leave, you could leave this world. So says the Gemara, so why is it that its leg on the letter he, the leg is hanging? So he says, because if he does teshuvah, me'ayle, he could go back up and come up to do teshuvah, and he'll be able to get inside of the room. So ask the Gemara, v'layel bahach, go in the same entrance, meaning the same way that you went out, come back in. So if the hey is like this is the letter hey. So if you went downwards, come back up, downwards, come back up in the same direction. Why is it that you have to have another entrance in order to come in? Answers the Gemara, la mistaya milta. You're not going to have success. Why? Like Resh Lakish. Tamar Resh Lakish, but says Resh Lakish, what does it mean in Pasuk? To a mocker, he's going to do mockery, and somebody that's humble, he will give grace. He says if somebody comes to be mitahed, if somebody comes to purify themselves, they help him. But if somebody comes to become tameh, they only open up the door for him. What does that mean? That means that when somebody wants to do something wrong, they don't help him to do something wrong. They just open up the door. So you open up the bottom, you fall out. That's it. But they're not helping you. It's just that they open up the door for you. When you want to do teshuvah, they help you. So they have to pick you up to bring you higher up, to come up through the other door. And that's what the Gemara says, why this world was made with the letter He. When we're talking about this world, in this world, everyone has free will. We know that's one of the basics of anything of emunah, that we believe in God. Every single human being has free will. And since we have free will, we're able to do whatever we want. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not actually come and help us to do bad. And no matter which level we are on, we could even be in the level of Ruach HaKodesh, and the highest of levels, we always have the opportunity to fall. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always made it that no matter where you are, you always have the opportunity of having free will. Where do we see this? Korach. Korach says, right, he had Ruach HaKodesh. Korach was a pikeach. he went and he saw so many. He saw Shemuel Hanavi coming from him, that Shemuel was equal to Moshe ve'Aaron. As we say, Shemuel bekoreh, right? Moshe ve'Aaron bekoreh, Shemuel bekoreh shemo. So he says, Moshe ve'Aaron bedoro, ve'Shmuel bedoro. Each one in their generation, they were the Gdolim. And then he saw the 24 Mishmarot Kiuna coming out of himself. So says the Gemara, Eno hitato. The Bereshit Rabbah, right? The Midbar Rabbah comes and it says, Eno hitato. His eyes made him make the mistake. What does that mean? His eyes made him a mistake. He saw greatness coming from him. So he said, what? Am I going to lose the opportunity? So right away he has to go and he has to jump and he has to fight. And he wants to make a big deal. Why? Because it's Magiali. It's supposed to be for me. I see it. So you see that even though he was on a level that he received this type of a prophecy, that he saw in the future that this is what's going to happen, that's what specifically took him out of this world. That was the cause of his downfall, and he actually fell. And he fell so deep that he wasn't able to get back up. When we speak about Korach, there's a lot of things really what to speak about. One of the things is kin'ah, jealousy. We see how it was that Korach became jealous of his younger cousin. Moshe took the leadership. Aharon was the Kohen Gadol. And the Nasi of the Shevet, the prince of the Shevet of Levi, was supposed to be him according to his level. They skipped him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu purposely skipped him and it went one level down. And when it went one level down, what happened is that he became jealous. He wanted that, but now he's not going to come and start fighting just for position power for himself. It's not of the person's kavod. What, you're jealous? You're running after honor? So what does he do? He plans an entire, we're going to say, rebellion. And he does it very, very wisely. For example, if I remember correctly, there's a Sforno. The Sforno says that the 250 people, he didn't come and bring them to a rally together. He spread them around in the crowd. And all of a sudden, Korah comes and he says, look what Moshe Rabbeinu is doing. And all of a sudden, somebody over there says, yeah, it's true. He's taking everything for himself. And then all of a sudden, someone over there says the same thing. And all of a sudden, people are looking around. They're like, oh, wow, look how many people. They're right. They used such tactics that he knew how to get to the people. And that's why he was able to get even Rashi Sanhedrin. He was able to get very wise people in order to make a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, if you think about it, who would even rebel? Who would think about rebelling against a man that he was able to go into Paro and do whatever he wanted? He brought all the plagues. He split the sea. He did everything. And now they're going to come and rebel against Moshe Rabbeinu. But again, when it comes to running for power, running and being the jealousy and the lust and the desires, and it takes a person out of this world. It doesn't make sense. If a person thinks you're going to die, they knew they were going to die. When these 250 people came and they brought a ketoret, they knew they were going to die, but they still did it. Now, why? Because it's so deep, it's so engraved inside of them, this desire of power, that they're able to go to the death, and it doesn't matter. They're able to bring the entire thing down, but as long as they get what they want, as long as they did something, they were the ones that stood up to Moshe Rabbeinu. However, though, we know that it is very, very dangerous, but there has to be also something else. How did he get them? So, Kama Chachamim, and I wanted to share with you something very beautiful. And it says over here as follows. Harav Yaakov Haim Sofer, in a Sefer, Magid Devarav Yaakov, Parashat Korah says, how is it that he was able to take people that they were Nisiyah Edah, Kiryeh Moed, and Sheshem, people that were very, very powerful, people that were very incredible. So what happens exactly? So it says over here, the Midrash explains in Likut Shimoni in our Parashah, Remes Tafshin Nun, Ashrei Ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzat reshaim. Fortunate is a person that he didn't go in the advice of the wicked. Uvaderech hata'im lo amad, and he didn't go in the path, he didn't stand in the paths of those that sin. Ashrei Ha'ish, right? What is this referring to? The children of Korach. Because at the beginning they were with Korach, but at the last moment they were Choser B'Teshuvah. They did Teshuvah, and because they did Teshuvah, Shemuel Hanavi came from them, and all the 24 Mishmarot came from them, and they were saved. Right? What does that mean? In the last moment, they were saved. That's what we have. Lam Natseach Livnei Korach Mizmor. There's a whole bunch of Tehillims, which are Bnei Korach, the children of Korach, that are saying these Tehillim. Why are they saying these Tehillim? Because Be'emet, they actually did Teshuvah. And therefore, they actually sang Tehillim. And it wasn't like Korach. But what does it say there? Ulmoshav letzim lo yashav, and in a place of mockery they didn't sit. This is Korach. That Korach did mockery, and that was the secret to his success. Meaning the secret of success of Korach was one and only thing. Success was because he mocked them. He came and he was doing things of mockery that he just, he made fun of them. What exactly, right, was the mockery? So he brought everybody together and he starts putting, signs and everything. Look what we're going to do, right? We're going to give food. The second food draws the people, right? As it says, he brought everyone together. And then he started saying things about letzanut. He went and he started saying a story about an almanah. There was a widow. He says there was a widow in my vicinity, in my neighborhood. And he said what happened is that she had two young girls, orphans, yatomot. So this almanah, right now, he wants to bring mercy into the equation. So the second that people hear an almanah, a widow, people feel bad all of a sudden. Because if not, it's like cruelty. How could it be? So he comes and he says, but listen to this. She had a field, right? That's all that she had. She comes to plow, right? And all of a sudden Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen, when you're going to plow, you're not allowed to plow together the ox, right, and the donkey, right? Fine. She accepts it. She comes to plant. He comes and he says, you're not allowed to plant kilaim. You're not allowed to plant different types of vegetables and things like that together, the vineyard and this. Fine. Comes to reap, and she makes a pile. He comes and he says, you have to leave leket shichal peah, the corner of the field and things in the field that they drop, you have to leave it for the poor people. Okay? She comes to the granary. He says, you have to give truma, maaser rishon, maaser sheni. That's it, right? She comes and she keeps on saying, Aywa, what's going on over here? Every single move that I make, I have to do something. Right? I have to give money. I have to pay. I have to give. What is this? Fine. What does she do? She says, forget about it. Too much headaches. She comes, she sells the field, and she buys 2 sheep, right? She comes, she starts shearing the wool, right? And what happens? They give birth. Comes Aaron and says, Aaron, give me the Bechor. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the Bechors come to me. She comes, okay, fine. The shearings of wool, no, you have to give it to him. Reshita Gez goes again. She comes and she says, I don't understand. What am I going to do? She says, you know what? I'm going to slaughter it. That's it. I'm already had enough. She slaughters the animal. Comes Aaron, give me the zroa l'chai, give me the parts of the animal that goes to the Kohanim. She says, I don't understand. Even after I slaughtered the animals, I'm still not done. So she goes, you know what? Everything's a cherem. Everything's to Hashem. So now he comes and he takes everything. Right? And then she comes and she starts crying, but she's left completely with nothing. Now, when people come and they hear this story, they start feeling so bad. Right? Besides the fact that the entire thing was falsehood, because there was still no fields, there was still nothing that came into the land of Israel yet. So all these things still didn't apply, but he was trying to show them how ridiculous everything was. And he did it in such a way of mockery that, did you guys realize what's happening? Moshe and Aaron are taking everything for themselves. And we are the ones which are like the losers, that we have to give them everything. You guys don't realize what's going on? And that in essence was what they were saying. And then what happens is that Kam Chachamim, and they say, 1 second, why is it that all these Rashi Sanhedrin couldn't actually answer Korach? Why didn't they answer him? And the best answer would have been, do you think that the woman is losing out? The woman is only gaining. We have to have the perspective in life that everything that we give, whether it's going to be to tzedakah, to the Kohanim, to the Levi'im, the Trumot HaMasrot, all the things, that brings us beracha. That brings us a blessing. So do you think that she's losing out? You're gaining. So therefore, if right now you're going to gain, why couldn't they just tell them that? Why didn't they just say that? But rather, they went and they said as follows. It once happened, right, that with Rav Baruch Ber, right, he was one of the Birkat Shemuel, one of the big rabbis, that it said that the people that they were on the left, they wanted to make a skit, a play. So what did they do? They wanted to say, what's the Jewish army? So they wanted to laugh about what's going on with the Torah. So what do? They have a big group of soldiers, and one of them gets up there as if that he's a general, and he says, who's the one that wanted to get married, right? Or that he built a house, or he went and he did his vineyard and he didn't use it, or he didn't actually get married yet, and all the things, go home. Every time he gets up there, a group leaves, a group leaves, a group leaves. Finally, he says, who's the one that's afraid of their sins? And everybody leaves, and two people are staying there. Who are the two people? The Gaon Vilna and the Shagat Aryeh. One of them have a big Gemara in his hand, and the other one has a stick, right? Like a staff. And they're the ones that are going to go to war against the enemies. So everyone starts laughing, obviously. What, these two, elderly Jews are going to come and they're going to go to war? What's going to happen? So when they went and they told that to Rav Chaim Brisk, he answered and he says, you know what? They're right. You are 100% right. That is the Jewish war. But they forgot the ending. He says, you know what the ending was? That they won. That was the most important part. The most important part of the story was that they won. These two elderly people. Because Hashem is the one that wins the wars. Hashem is the one that does everything. It's nobody else. And the truth is, we've seen this time and time. How many times did we see, whether it was in the 1967 war, in the Yom Kippur war, and that every single war, we were outnumbered. We had hardly anything. We didn't have ammunition. We didn't have tanks. We didn't have planes. We didn't have anything. And we won because Hashem made us win. No, not for any other reason. Hashem was the one. I once heard an incredible story with the general Moshe Dayan. Everyone knows that he had the patch on his eye. And that they once said, right, that they were all waiting, right, in order to go into the Suez Canal, in order to go to attack Egypt. And what happened is that it was at the time of nighttime and waiting and waiting and waiting. And all of a sudden, right, they heard a command. Turn on your lights and just go. Now, usually, if a person would use their brain, right, if you're at nighttime and all of a sudden you turn on your lights with the tanks, what do you become? The biggest target. Everyone sees exactly where you are. All you have to do is just attack. Yeah, that's all that you have to do. What happened? They didn't know until today who was the one that gave the command to turn on your lights and go. They did it twice. They gave the command. The second time, the people, they were stunned because it just doesn't make sense in warfare. But they did it and they went and they won. And he still said, we don't know who it was. And you know why? Because we won't know. Because Hashem is the one that does everything. That's what's the problem. That basically he's going to come and make the mockery about half of a story, but finish the story. And the story was that these two elderly men, yes, they would win the battle. And therefore it's not so funny anymore. Because it's true. And that's the way to show you how Hashem actually comes and he wins the world. He wins all the wars. So come Chachamim and they say, so what exactly did Korach do? You know what Korach did? Korach was very, very smart. How was he so smart? Yeah, he went and he was so smart that he specifically looked for people that they had a grudge against Moshe Rabbeinu. Think about it. These 250 people, if you think about it, these are Rashi Sanhedrin. These are big, huge rabbis. How did he get them on his side? In order to go against Moshe Rabbeinu? How did he succeed? And the answer is, they all had a grudge against Moshe Rabbeinu. Why exactly? The grudge against Moshe Rabbeinu is because these were all Bechorim. They were all Bechors. Now we know that what happened is that to do with the Bechors, they were supposed to become the Kohanim. But it was taken away from them. And once it was taken away from them, it was given to the Kohanim and the Levim. So because of that, they already felt bad. They felt, what's going on over here? You understand? What is this? So once they felt bad, what do? The tactic was go to somebody that anyway he's not that happy with him, and now let's start feisting them up. We're gonna stir the pot. If you're gonna go to a friend and you're gonna start stirring the pot, you're not gonna stir anything. The guy's gonna justify him. He's gonna say he's right. Here they wanted to come and they wanted to start a machloket. They wanted to start an uprising, a rebellion. The best way to do it is very simple. I'm gonna go to his enemies. I'm gonna go to the people that they don't like him that much. And all of a sudden I'm gonna stir the pot and I'm gonna start this. And yeah, look what else. And look, and what are they saying? Everything's going to Moshe Rabbeinu. Everything's going to Aaron. Do you know that Moshe Rabbeinu went and what is the answer? Think about it. What is the answer to Korach? He says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't answer their prayers. You know why? I didn't do nothing. I never benefited from them. I never nothing. So you're going to tell me now that I'm going to come and I'm doing it for myself? So Moshe Rabbeinu was coming and trying to answer that up. Korach is saying everything is for yourself. Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that put it on the spotlight. He says you're doing it only for yourself. You're not doing it for them. You want to become the Nasi. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. He's got his plan because everything was done according to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When people come and they become like Korachs, and by the way, you should know, we always speak about Korach. Korach exists in every single community, in every single generation, in every single place. There is always a Korach. Why do you think we read it every single time? It's not just a history book, the Torah. The Torah is teaching us who are the Korachs. You want to know who the Korachs are? I'm going to tell you who the Korachs are. The Korachs are the people that come in your community. They're always going to say that this guy, he's doing it for his own benefit. And this guy, he's doing it for his own benefit. And that guy, he's doing it for his own benefit. And they keep on going. Now, they don't just do it. They don't just come up to the person and tell them that. They're going to go behind their backs. And they're going to go to the people that they dislike them. Why? Because maybe they were supposed to be on the board, or they were supposed to be important people, or parnasim, or gabaim, or whatever it is, or they have something to do with the rabbi. And all of a sudden, what happens is it was taken away from them, or something happened, and then all of a sudden, what happens is they become very flustered, they become very upset. So therefore, they're going to start going, and they're going to go like Korach to one person and to another person. And when they see that the pot is stirring, they're going to go, yeah, you see what they did? They went and they did this and they did that. And he's doing everything for himself. And he's gaining for himself power. He's only doing it for himself. Do they have the chutzpah? Do they even think about what's going on? No. It all starts with the jealousy and it continued with the litzanut. It started with being jealous, that they're jealous in their hearts, that something was taken away from them or something was there. And then what happens is they're jealous. I also want to be on the top. I also want to grow. But they don't want to see people succeed because it wasn't me. I didn't help out. I was removed from it. And then what happens is that the jealousy translates into mockery. So every single time that there's a chance, a mockery, they're going to spread out, do the tactics of Korah. I'm going to tell this guy. And when it's the right time, I'm going to tell the other guy. And when it's the right time, I'm going to tell that guy, and I'm going to stir the pot. And all of a sudden, everyone makes up. Right? But Korach himself is a big tzaddik. Right? He's Korach. He sees. Yes. Eno hitato. His own eyes deceived him. Because all he was looking at was running after power, running after everything. That's the reason why also he got riches. Do we know, where did it say? I saw brought down something incredible, that it's not brought down in a real midrash, but it's brought down in a sefer to do that it was says in the midrashim, but we don't know where it is, that it all started from his wife as well. Because we know that the wife of Ben Pelet, she saved her husband. She saved her husband. And that's why it says, Chachmat Nashim Banta Beta. Women, they either create, they build, or they destroy. So what happened exactly? She went and she realized and she told her husband, let's stop for a moment. Let's just use our brain. What are you gaining? You're getting into a machloket, you're getting into a fight, and for what? It's either Korach will be the one in charge, or Moshe Rabbeinu will be the one in charge. But you, nothing's changing with you. You're always going to stay in the same stance. So therefore, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? What are you gaining here? Stam to be part of a fight? No, but maybe he's right. He said, yeah, but I already promised him. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of it. What did she do? She went outside and she did an Avera Lishma. She went and she uncovered her hair and she started combing her hair in public. They went to pick him up and they're saying, a married woman combing her hair in public? No, my husband, no, it's okay. You don't have to comb. They ran away. It's not for us. Why? They were important people. These weren't not religious people. They were with long beards. They were very important people. What, somebody that doesn't cover her hair, we're going to use him as part of a rebellion? No. They were tzaddikim, for sure. They're painted with terrible midot, but they look like tzaddikim. They had long beards. They had everything. They're not going to come and get a guy that his wife is not covering her hair. But what happened with the wife of Korach? The wife of Korach was the one that stirred the pot to make it worse. Korach, it says, we know, do you know that the Levim, when Bnei Israel had all the riches in Mitzrayim, when they were going from house to house getting the riches, it wasn't supposed to be from Shevet Levim and the Kohanim. The Levim were not allowed to take anything. Not only the Levim were not allowed to take anything there, the Levim also were not able to take anything during Bizat Hayam, because the Levim were always going to be a poor tribe getting all the Trumot and Ma'asrot. They weren't supposed to have riches. And what happened is Korach was there the entire time and he was always yearning for money. He was money hungry. He just wanted it. So what happened is he was so much, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you want it so much, I'm going to give it to you. But Osher Shamur L'Ra L'Ba'alav. Sometimes people get riches and it's actually used in the negative for them. It will be their downfall. So what happens? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made him find the riches. That's something incredible. What happened is Korach's wife had all the jewelry in the world. Everyone was like, wow, this is Korach's wife. And Moshe Rabbeinu's wife, Tzipora, had nothing. But there was one thing, right, that Moshe Rabbeinu did get. Moshe Rabbeinu never took the riches, not in Mitzrayim, not in Mizat Hayam. He never took it. When in Mitzrayim, he was busy with the Aron of Yosef, so he never had wealth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made him wealthy. What did he do? With the leftovers of the luchot, right, that they carved out, which was a sampinon, this type of a beautiful jewel, this beautiful, we're going to say, jewelry, he went and he made something for his wife. And it was so beautiful. It was stunning. There was nothing like it in the world. With the leftovers, he went and he made for his wife a tachshit, a ring, and he gave it to her. The second that he gave it to her, everybody came and they went to Tzipora and they left the wife of Korach. That even though she had tons of jewelry all over her arms and all over her fingers and all over the place, they just left her because this was something which was incredible. It made Moshe Rabbeinu rich and he gave that to his wife as a present. And all of a sudden, the wife of Korach went crazy. She lost it. Until now, she was the queen. And all of a sudden now, the wife of Moshe Rabbeinu has some jewelry which is much more prettier, much more beautiful, much more valuable than anything that she even has. And therefore, she went and she pushed her husband against the wall. And she was the one that she was the velet, the fool, that with her own hands, she destroyed her house. With her own hands, she destroyed everything. But what happened? He purposely came, right? And he took these people. And this kin'ah, this jealousy. So first, it was a jealousy of Korach himself, of not becoming the prince. It was a jealousy of his wife, of the wife of Moshe Rabbeinu. And then he went until the end, which was the rebellion. And we actually see more and more how that everything to do with the sakana, it's so dangerous. Why is it so dangerous? You know why it's so dangerous, this concept of Korach and letzanut, mockery, and the entire concept of the rebellion? Because it even consumes the children. And the reason why is because we say in the pasuk, shoresh poreh rosh vela'ana. People that they have these terrible midot, it gets instilled in themselves and in their children. And therefore, sometimes you'll see these ba'alei machloket, and it's them and it's in their children, and they'll be there. And it's just waiting to arouse. It's just there. And therefore it says, like the Ben Sorenu Modeh, the rebellious child, we come and we kill him. Why do we kill the rebellious child? He's only a child. And the answer is because it's better that he dies now instead of dying later on when he's committed so many felonies. And therefore, Kam Chachamim, they say, this machloket, this fire, which is so juicy, that's why it's a fire. It's so juicy, they enjoy it so much. It goes down, and they have it so much instilled in the children that even the children have to be consumed. You couldn't just say, you know what, just leave the children and that's it. The children themselves were part of it. The children were there. They were standing there. They were part of the entire thing. They were enjoying every single moment. You see it. Sometimes you see these people that they love machloket so much. It's so juicy for them. That's what they live off. They live off fighting. They live off doing all these things. And they just enjoy themselves of everything that's going on. And that's why it's so important for us just to understand what's going on. Because at the end of the day, this is the sakana, the greatest of all the dangers. When a person comes and they do letzanut, mockery, we don't realize the mockery actually comes and destroys everything. It says, letzanut achat doche mea tochachot. One piece of mockery, one word of mockery, a joke, a face, a funny face, destroys 100 proofs. It destroys 100 reproaches, 100 times that somebody's going to rebuke. It destroys everything. So imagine right now you're going to have a shiur, and alongside me we have another 99 rabbis, and we start, and I'm going to prove to you that the Torah is correct, and that this is the way that we have to live, and that this is what we're supposed to do, and how we're supposed to be coming closer to Hashem. And I start another one, but not 10, not 20, 100. You have 100 rabbis coming and they're giving you all this in the head. It's going to have an effect, of course. All you need is one monkey, one mocker, a clown, that he's going to come and he's going to do some face or some type of a joke, and the entire thing, what 100 rabbis just did, went down the drain. 100 rabbis, it just went down the drain. Everything that they said. Letzanut achat, one mockery. That's all that you need. One mockery destroys 100 tochachot. There was nothing left. So therefore, they're going to come now. They're going to say something. It doesn't even help. And that's why they weren't able to see the truth anymore. Because if they would have realized, right, they would have understood why it wasn't true what he was saying. Whether it was to do with the house, right, of the entire thing was tchelet, or like the house that the entire thing is full of sifrei Torah, doesn't need a mezuzah, or a tzitzit, which the entire thing is already tchelet, doesn't need a tzitzit to exempt it. All these things, at the end of the day, to fight. When you want to fight against logic, right, the only way to fight against logic is with logic. But there's a better way. And I can disprove any logic in the world. All you have to do is joke. Make a mockery out of it. You make a mockery out of it, that's it. They're finished. There's nothing else to do. And by the way, you should know, many times this happens even with politicians. Politicians will come, and many times they're not even speaking logic. But what are they doing? Mockery, mockery, mockery. They're not speaking logic. But 1 second, let me speak. I want to hear. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear you. Let's use logic, our brains. The second that they make the mockery, we completely lose everything. There's nothing left. Complete. And that's why it's so important, right? Just for that way we should understand. How is it, right, that a person comes and they've done, whether it is also with the one that cursed HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he also left and he cursed the name of Hashem. What happened there also? It was also mockery. What was the mockery there? The mockery there was he laughed about the lechem hapanim. The lechem hapanim was a miracle. They used to bake the bread, and they used to bring in the bread, and they used to switch it. They used to leave the bread there for a week and only eat it the next Shabbat. So imagine they're eating bread that is not 1 day old, or not the same day, 1 week old. And many times it was, by the time it was there, it was talking about almost 7-8 days later. And something incredible, when they were going to come and they were going to eat this, right, what happens is that he started laughing. Why did he start laughing? He started laughing when he says, is it normal that a king, that a Kodesh Baruch Hu, the king, is going to eat? This. Why does he do this? But it was a miracle. The miracle was that it stayed fresh and it was warm, just like it came out of the oven, just like the same day that they brought it out. Which means they brought it straight from the oven to the lechem hapanim. And it stayed warm the entire week until they took it off, and then they were able to eat it. They didn't have to take it out of the freezer and then put it again to warm up, and now you eat it crispy on Shabbat morning. No. The miracle was it stayed fresh the entire time. But he made a mockery out of it. He said he just started laughing about it. But it's a miracle. What are you laughing? But again, even out of a miracle, if you're going to start laughing about the miracles, you've completely destroyed everything. And that's why it's so important to understand this parasha. Because again, this parasha was not just stam that happened once upon a time or telling us history. This parasha is teaching us the secret behind to the downfall of so many people. Why? Whether it is because of the kin'ah, it starts with jealousy. It's true. The jealousy is what starts it. The jealousy pushes for the kavod. It's trying to pursue honor. And then from there, how do you get there? So in order to get there, many times you'll have to use mockery in order to take people down and to put yourself up. And that's why it's so important to realize where are we headed. In every single community, you have a Korach. In every single place, you have a Korach. We have to be very careful. Who are those Korahs? And to stay far away from them. To distance ourselves from them. Because at the end of the day, right, they're there. They live amongst us. But we have to be careful. We have to open up our eyes and realize, who is it? Why? Because think to ourselves what the wife of Ben Pelet said. What's it going to help? Whether it's going to be him or it's going to be someone else. But they're there. And they're doing the mockery. And they're doing it from behind. And they're using all their tactics in order to pull everyone down. And in order to get their agenda that this is where they want to be in power. They want to have that kavod. They have that kin'ah. They already have that jealousy. And therefore, the rabbis say that it's coming upon us to internalize this message, because Parashat Korach just didn't happen once upon a time in the past. Parashat Korach is in every single generation, in every single community you have a Korach, and therefore you always have it. So therefore, let's try to internalize this and realize that if it is that there's something, let's try to speak about it. Try to use logic, not mockery, not saying everything is for Moshe Rabbeinu, everything is for there. So I'm going to say everything the Parnas is doing for himself, the president is doing for himself, the rabbi is doing for himself. That's what we're doing. Yeah, very simple, but that was Korach. That's exactly what Korach did. But let's think, let's ask. Maybe we didn't realize. Maybe we're making a mistake. But he didn't care because he had the jealousy and he wanted to bring it in. And that's why it's so important for us to leave that out. Bezrat Hashem, I hope that we're able to internalize this message in order to continue growing, right? With distancing ourselves from machloket, because this is where the machloket starts, right? And then we say, no, we always run away from machloket. I stay away from machloket. But that's what he was doing. He was making a huge machloket. And then after that, obviously it caused his downfall, that he was swallowed up alive. There was nothing else. They had to make a new creation in order to just get rid of him completely. Everything, him, his money, his wealth, his wife, his children. The children, they did teshuvah, so they were saved, and that's why they stayed. But everything was gone. A person through machloket doesn't gain anything. All they do is they lose everything that they have, and everything that they worked for went all down the drain. Bezrat Hashem, I hope that we should continue growing in Torah and Yirat Shamayim. Bezrat Hashem, to have Mashiach Tzidkenu Amen. Bezrat Hashem.